Can you imagine building your entire dream, piece by painstaking piece, only for the people who are supposed to love and protect you to casually sell it off like it's scrap? That's what happened to me, and it ripped apart everything I thought I knew about my family. My name is Alex, and this story isn't just about a car. It's about the day I woke up to a brutal truth. My parents never really saw me as their son. To them, I was just an afterthought, a backup plan, someone they could exploit whenever it suited their needs. I was 22, living what I thought was the best year of my life, studying abroad in Germany on an exchange program. Man, I worked my butt off to get there. Years of grinding away at part-time jobs, chasing scholarships, pulling all-nighters just to make ends meet. But you know what I was most proud of? My car. It wasn't just a car. It was my car. My dream car. The one I'd spent countless years saving every single penny for. I skipped nights out, took extra shifts, watched every dollar disappear from my paycheck and reappear in my savings account. And when I finally got the keys, the feeling was just indescribable. It was sleek, fast, everything I'd ever pictured. It was my prize, my hard-earned trophy for all that sacrifice. Before I flew out for Germany, I parked it safely in my parents' driveway. I even asked them, "Hey, could you start it once in a while? Just keep the battery from dying." They gave me that casual, "Sure, no problem, honey," you know? I should have known better. I really should have. The whole nightmare started when my best friend, Jake, messaged me completely out of the blue. His text popped up, "Dude, did you sell your car?" I remember frowning at my phone screen, so confused. "No, why?" I typed back. Then he wrote, then why is it listed for sale?" That's when he sent me a screenshot. My stomach just dropped. It was my car. My exact car. Same model, same license plate, everything. Up for sale on some local Facebook marketplace listing. And the price? Way too low. At first, my brain tried to rationalize it. Okay, Alex, deep breaths. It's got to be a scam. Some weirdo using my pictures to bait people. But then I noticed something else. The location. It was listed right there in my hometown. My heart started pounding like a drum solo in my chest. I immediately called my parents. My dad picked up all chipper. "Hey Alex, how's Germany?" His voice was so casual, like nothing was amiss. I didn't waste a second on pleasantries. "Why is my car listed for sale?" There was a pause. A really long, deafening pause. Then my dad cleared his throat, a telltale sign. "Oh, we needed to talk to you about that." My hands clenched into tight fists. "Talk to me? You already put it up for sale." Another agonizing pause. Then my mom's voice, sickly sweet and dripping with condescension, cut in. "Honey, don't overreact. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. I snapped, my voice rising. "It's my car. I never agreed to sell it. What the hell is going on?" That's when they hit me with a bombshell. Well, my mom said, like she was explaining something perfectly reasonable to a child, "Your cousin Ethan ran into some financial trouble. He had some debts to pay off, and well, you weren't using the car anyway, right?" I swear, my vision went red for a second. "Are you kidding me? You're selling my car to pay for Ethan's debt." "Not selling," my dad corrected me, his voice strangely calm. "It's already sold." Everything went quiet in my head. I felt like I was outside my own body, watching this whole insane conversation unfold. "You already sold it?" My voice was barely a whisper. My mom sighed, like I was the one being dramatic. "We didn't want to bother you with it. You're so far away, and Ethan really needed help. Family takes care of family." I wanted to scream. Family? They were talking about family? The same parents who had never once helped me when I needed it, who watched me break my back working to afford that car and never once offered a dime. And all for Ethan? The golden boy, my entitled cousin who had never worked a day in his life, and somehow always found himself in financial trouble. The same Ethan who got a brand new car as a graduation gift. Well, I had to save for years just to get mine. I took a deep, shaky breath, my hand trembling as I gripped the phone. Who did you sell it to? Silence. Heavy, oppressive silence. Then my dad muttered, some guy named Mark. I immediately hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone across the room. Instead, a cold, hard resolve settled over me. I acted. First, I messaged Jake. Find out everything you can about this Mark guy. Who he is, where he lives, anything. Then, I pulled up my phone's notes app. I scrolled down, past a bunch of grocery lists and random thoughts, to something I had saved a long, long time ago. Something that was about to make my parents regret everything. The car's title. Because here's what they didn't know, what they obviously hadn't bothered to check. The car was still legally mine. The title was in my name. And that meant one thing, one absolutely crucial thing. They hadn't sold the car. They had stolen it. And I was about to make them pay. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my tiny apartment in Germany, heart pounding, mind racing, meticulously planning every single step. My parents thought they had control of the situation. They thought they could guilt trip me into accepting it, make me feel bad for Ethan, and just move on. But they had no idea who they were messing with. By the next morning, Jake had come through like the absolute legend he is. His text read, found a guy. His name's Mark Reynolds. Looks like he owns a used car lot in town. Probably thought he was getting a steal. That actually made things more interesting. If Mark was a used car dealer, that meant he'd done this before. He probably figured out my parents were desperate, lowballed them, and saw an easy flip. But the key thing? The fact that he bought it meant there was a paper trail. I actually smiled to myself. Good. That'll make this even easier. I pulled up my phone and made my first call to the DMV. After confirming my identity, which felt like an interrogation, I explained the situation. I'm the legal owner of a car that was sold without my permission. I have the title. The car was stolen. The lady on the phone sounded skeptical at first, her tone dripping with another one of these stories. But when I emailed her a scan of the title, clear as day, with my name on it, her tone immediately changed. Sir, you need to file a police report immediately, she said, suddenly all business. The car is still legally yours. That was all I needed to hear. I hung up and immediately called the police department back home. I kept my tone calm, professional, and direct. Hi, I need to report a stolen vehicle. I have a title in my name, but my parents sold it while I was out of the country. The officer on the other end hesitated. Sir, do you have proof that you didn't authorize the sale? I had anticipated this, of course. I have text messages with my parents admitting they sold it without asking me, plus the title in my name. I can email it all over right now. All right, he said, a hint of curiosity in his voice. Send it over. We'll take a look. It took less than 2 hours before I got called back. This is Detective Harris, a gruff voice said. I just went through the documents you sent. Based on what I'm seeing, you have a pretty strong case. Since you never signed over the title, the sale wasn't legal. The car is still yours. I let out a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. So what happens now? Well, the detective said, we're going to treat this as a stolen vehicle case. We'll notify the current owner that they're in possession of stolen property. If they cooperate, we'll facilitate the return. If not, they could face legal consequences. That's when another idea sparked in my head. What happens if the buyer refuses to return it? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. Well, technically, if they knew it wasn't legally sold, that's fraud, he explained. Even if they didn't know, they still have to return the car. But the detective paused, as if debating whether he should say the next part. If they try to make you pay to get your own car back, that could be considered extortion. I grinned. Good to know. I spent the rest of the day waiting, jumping every time my phone buzzed. My parents hadn't called or texted since our last conversation, which told me one thing. They knew they messed up. Then, at around 6 p.m. my time, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up. Hello. A gruff voice answered. Is this Alex? Yes, this is, I replied, already knowing who it was. This is Mark Reynolds. We have a problem. I leaned back in my chair, pretending I wasn't enjoying this just a little too much. Oh, what kind of problem? There was a pause. Then, in an annoyed voice, Mark said, the cops just showed up at my dealership. They're saying the car I bought is stolen. I feigned concern. Oh, wow. Well, that's crazy. How did that happen? Another pause, and then irritation really crept into his voice. Your parents told me they had permission to sell it. Yeah, I said flatly. They lied. Mark let out a frustrated breath. Look, kid, I already paid for this car. Your parents took the money. I have a bill of sale, and now I'm being told I have to give it back? That's not how this works. I actually smiled. Actually, it is. The sale wasn't legal. You never owned it. There was a long silence on the line. Then Mark sighed in defeat. All right, I'll return it. But, there it was. The but. I want my money back, he said, his voice hardening. Plus, I already put some work into it. New detailing, a small repair. I'm out over $8,000. If you want a car back, I need that covered. I nearly laughed out loud. So he wanted to play it that way, huh? I kept my voice calm, almost bored. You want me to pay $8,000 for my own stolen car? You're getting a car back that I legally paid for, he retorted. I'm not running a charity here. I let that sink in for a second. Then I said, let me think about it. And I hung up. I wasn't going to pay him. Not a single dime. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more call to make. It was time to deal with my parents. I took a deep breath and dialed my mom's number. It didn't even ring twice before she picked up, breathless. Alex, honey. Thank God. We need to talk. I leaned back in my chair. Yeah, we do. She hesitated, probably thrown off by my calm, almost detached tone. Look, honey, I know you're upset, but you need to understand the situation. Your cousin was in trouble. It was an emergency. We had no other choice. Here we go. The gaslighting. I let her talk, let her dig the hole deeper. And honestly, sweetheart, you weren't even using the car. It was just sitting there, wasting away. Ethan needed help, and we figured you'd understand. We're family, Alex. Oh, the classic we're family guilt trip. I decided to hit her with the facts, plain and simple. Mom, did you even check whose name was on the title? Silence. I have it right here. I continued, opening the scanned copy on my laptop, as if she could see it. It says Alex Carter. Not Ethan. Not you. Not Dad. Me. Which means you sold something that wasn't yours to sell. She scoffed. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Dramatic? I repeated, a dangerous edge creeping into my voice. You do realize the cops consider this theft, right? Her tone instantly changed. The cops. Alex, what did you do? I smirked. Oh, I just reported my stolen vehicle, like any reasonable person would. Her voice shot up an octave. You had no right to do that. Do you know what you've done? I feigned innocence. Oh yeah, I made sure the law was followed. I could hear her breathing heavily, desperately. You're blowing this way out of proportion, Alex. Just call them and tell them it was a misunderstanding. We'll sort this out as a family. That actually made me laugh, a short, bitter sound. Oh, now you want to sort this out as a family? After you stole from me? Watch your tone, she snapped. We raised you. We did everything for you. And this is how you repay us. Oh, there it was. The we did everything for you card. I wasn't having it. You didn't do this for me, Mom. You did it for Ethan. Because you've always put him first. That's not true, she argued weakly. Oh, really? I said. So tell me, if the roles were reversed, if I needed help, would you have sold Ethan's car to bail me out? More silence. That told me everything I needed to know. You have no idea what you've just done, she finally muttered. I smiled a cold, hard smile. Oh, I think I do. Then I hung up. That night, I got another call. This time it was from my dad. I let it ring a few times just to stew him before answering. His voice was cold, tight. "You crossed the line, son." I let out a measured breath. "No, Dad. You crossed the line when you sold my dream car behind my back." He exhaled sharply, clearly trying to keep his temper in check. "Look, we'll figure this out, but you need to drop this police nonsense before it gets worse." I kept my tone neutral. "How? Exactly. Do you plan on figuring it out?" "We'll talk to Mark. Maybe we can work something out." "Oh, I already talked to Mark." I cut him off. And that's when an idea, a truly magnificent idea, hit me. "Actually," I continued, making sure my voice sounded completely reasonable, "Mark has an offer. He says he'll return the car if I pay him $8,000. Silence. "Then what?" "Yeah, apparently he put some work into it and doesn't want to lose money. So, if you're serious about making this right, you guys can cover that cost." Dad sputtered. "We? Why should we have to pay that?" I grinned, knowing I had him. "Because you sold the car. This is your mess, not mine." Dad lowered his voice, clearly trying to appeal to some sense of filial loyalty. "We don't have that kind of money, Alex." "Neither do I." I shot back, no longer holding anything back. "So unless you want this to go to court, you better figure it out." I heard him mutter something under his breath, probably some expletive about me, before saying, "I'll call you back." And just like that, I had them trapped. Either they paid to fix their mistake, or they had to deal with the legal consequences. The best part? I wasn't even close to being done yet. The next few days felt like a high-stakes game of chess. I was 3 steps ahead, and I knew it. My parents were scrambling, desperate to figure out how to fix their colossal mistake, but they didn't have the luxury of time. I kept my phone on silent, mostly ignoring their increasingly frantic calls. Every time they reached out, I knew they were hoping I'd cave, that I'd let them talk me into backing down. But I wasn't going to be their scapegoat. Not this time. At some point, I stopped even pretending to be polite with them. I had made my point clear. The ball was in their court now. Then, 2 days later, I got a text from Jake. "Hey, just for your information, Mark is still trying to sell the car. He's offering a $5,000 discount to anyone willing to take it off his hands. But I think he's getting desperate. Just thought you should know." I nearly laughed. So Mark was trying to flip my car again? It didn't take much effort to see the opportunity here. If Mark was desperate enough to discount it that much, it meant he was either getting serious pressure from the police, or he was trying to cut his losses before things got worse. Either way, I had leverage. I called the police officer handling the case, Detective Harris, first thing and gave him a heads up about what was going on. "Mark Reynolds is trying to sell my car again. It's still in my name, and it hasn't been returned." There was a pause on the line, and then Harris's voice came back, sharp and serious. "If he's trying to sell it without returning it, that's theft by deception. Let me know if you get any more info." "Will do," I said, even though he couldn't see me nod. I knew this wasn't the final piece of the puzzle, but it felt good to have the law so firmly on my side. Later that day, my dad finally called back. His voice was low, tight with frustration, barely controlled anger. "Alex, we've been talking about this, and your mother and I have decided we'll pay Mark the money to get the car back." I smiled to myself. "Bingo. That's good," I said, feigning a casual tone. "So, I guess you figured out the $8,000 then?" "Not exactly," he muttered, and I braced myself. "We'll do $1,500. Take it or leave it." I blinked, a little taken aback by their audacity. $1,500? For a car that's worth at least $10,000. We're already going above and beyond here, Alex. Don't push it, he snapped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They sold my car, didn't even ask me, and now they were offering me less than half of what was needed just to get it back? Dad, I'm not negotiating here. I'm not paying Mark a penny for a car that was mine to begin with. You owe me the full amount, or I'll let the cops handle it. His voice went tight, with barely contained fury. This is ridiculous, Alex. You're going to ruin everything. We're family. I sighed, a tired, exasperated sound. We're family, Dad. Then why's my car the only thing that seems to matter to you right now? There was a long, uncomfortable pause. He was still trying to process everything, still trying to manipulate. I don't know what you want from us. You're going to have to figure that out, I told him, my voice firm. But you don't get to treat me like a fool anymore. And then, without another word, I hung up. A few more days went by. My parents didn't call. I didn't reach out. Then, out of nowhere, I got another call from Mark Reynolds. Alex, his voice was as smug as ever. I've been thinking about your little offer. I crossed my arms, waiting, a chill running down my spine. And you're not going to like it, but if you want your car back, you'll have to pay me $9,000. I raised an eyebrow, genuinely amused. I thought you were offering a discount, Mark. He let out a derisive chuckle. You don't get to tell me how this works, kid. This car is worth more than what I paid for it, so I'm raising the price. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the moment. You sure you want to play this game, Mark? You might want to check with your lawyer before you make any more threats. There was a long pause, and then he snapped, fine. I'll take $5,000. Take it or leave it. I almost burst out laughing. This guy was getting truly desperate. Not a chance, I replied, my voice steady. I'm coming for the car, and I'm coming for the money you've scammed me for. He didn't respond right away, but I could hear him grinding his teeth on the other end. Finally, he spat. You're making a big mistake, Alex. You'll regret this. I smiled. Maybe you will. I hung up. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Jake. Mark trying to sell it again. He's calling it a rare find now, offering it for $3,000. Looks like he's getting desperate. You should move fast. Perfect. I wasn't going to let this guy get away with it. The game had changed. Now, I wasn't going to make any more calls. I was going to show up in person and take back what was mine. And when I did, I would make sure Mark had to answer for every single cent he tried to scam me out of. The plan was simple, but it was going to hit like a freight train. I wasn't going to waste time with phone calls anymore. I called Detective Harris first thing in the morning. I could already hear the professionalism in his voice, but there was an undertone of excitement, too. He was itching for a fight. Detective Harris, you've got everything ready? Alex? Yeah, I'm heading over there now. I'll meet you there in an hour. He gave a short laugh. You know, I think this is going to be a fun one. I grabbed my jacket, stuffed my phone into my pocket, and got into my car, feeling the adrenaline burst through me. Today was going to be a day of reckoning. By the time I pulled up to Mark's house, not his dealership, his house, I had the police in tow. The squad car parked right behind me, and Detective Harris gave me a nod as we walked up to the front door. I could actually see Mark through the window, pacing back and forth, agitated. He was definitely not expecting company. I knocked. Mark opened the door, a cocky, fake grin plastered across his face. Well, if it isn't the little thief, come to beg for your car back. I stared him down, my expression like stone. Not exactly, Mark. He blinked. What are you? Before he could finish, Detective Harris stepped forward, flashing his badge. Mark Reynolds, the detective said, his voice commanding. You're under investigation for theft by deception. The vehicle in question is being seized, and any attempt to sell it is a felony. Mark's face drained of color. He backed away, his earlier bravado crumbling like a sandcastle. Wait, what? No, this is a misunderstanding. I raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding? Huh? Then why were you trying to sell my car for $3,000 just this morning? Harris spoke again, cutting off any further protest. Sir, we're taking the car into custody. You'll be contacted about further charges. Mark tried to argue, but no one was listening to him anymore. A few officers moved in and began taking the car away, starting the process of securing it for transport. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching every second of it. I had my car back. Finally. The next few days passed in a blur. The police made sure everything was handled legally, and the process to return the car to my name was incredibly quick. As I signed the final paperwork, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. My car, my dream car, was officially mine again. But it wasn't over yet. I didn't want anything to do with my parents anymore. They had chosen Ethan. They had lied, stolen, and gaslight me at every single turn. This was the end of it. I wasn't going to be their punching bag anymore. I called them one last time. My mom answered, her voice laced with manufactured concern. "Alex, honey, I know we've had our differences, but this isn't the time to be angry." "You're right," I said, cutting her off, my voice steady and cold. "This isn't the time to be angry. It's time to be done." There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear my mom's shaky breath. "What do you mean? What's going on?" "I mean that I'm done." I leaned forward, the words coming out sharper than I expected, laced with years of suppressed frustration. "You sold my car, didn't think twice about it, and now you're asking me to forget it? Forget that you chose Ethan over your own son? That you've made me feel like I'm nothing for years? I'm done." I could hear her trying to swallow her words, trying to formulate another excuse. "Please, Alex, don't do this." But I was already done listening. "You should have thought about that before you decided to steal from me. You don't get to pretend like nothing happened. I've been disrespected enough, and I'm done." And with that, I hung up. The next call was from my dad. I didn't even bother answering. Instead, I sent them both a single, concise message. "I'm cutting ties with you both. I don't care what happens from here on out. You've made your choice, and I'm making mine. Goodbye." It wasn't an easy decision, but deep down, I knew it was the right one. They weren't my family anymore. They hadn't been, not really, for a very long time. A few days later, I was sitting at my kitchen table, finally feeling a sense of peace when I saw a notification on my phone. It was a news article about a local businessman. Turns out, Ethan's father-in-law being fined $10,000 for fraud and theft. Turns out, my parents were actually involved in some incredibly shady dealings with Ethan's side of the family, and their finances were in complete shambles. The whole thing hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just about the car. It was about everything they kept hidden from me. The lies, the manipulation, the insidious way they'd taken advantage of my trust for years. But I wasn't going to let it ruin me anymore. I stood up, walked over to the window, and took a deep breath. I wasn't going to waste any more energy on them. I had my life back, my car back, and the profound ability to move on. And that's exactly what I was going to do. So what do you all think? Was I right to cut ties with my family? Or did I take it too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.